core production for survival. We already tend to view that as something for humans, not automation, partially because such things are harder to automate, but I also suspect because we feel those are our tasks and perhaps should remain so, even if they could be automated. And that's the key point, of course. A future high-tech civilization might turn into one where nobody walks or learns or ever stores themselves from the couch because they don't have to and don't want to. But I don't think that scenario is too likely. More likely is that most people want to be doing something, have a megaton of skills and talents, and have problems finding anything to do, so end up sitting on the couch, same as some second-string player on a championship team waiting for the coach to call them off the bench. That might be a rough existence, regardless of what luxuries life affords you, if you always feel like a backup being held in reserve. We should also consider the effects of post-scarcity on our current perception of what qualifies as purpose. Humanity has been focused on immediate survival and resource acquisition for as long as we've existed. It seems fair to assume that no longer having to worry about such things would probably change our psychology to some degree. Given the chance to do and be whatever we please without having to worry about the minutiae of everyday tasks, we'd likely find our society beginning to change its core views and ideals. Without having to worry about keeping the factory running, food on the shelves, or staying in ideal health, humanity might begin thinking on scales which seemed previously out of bounds due to considerations of logistics and manpower involved. With these no longer at issue, humanity might just start moving toward ever larger endeavors. What tasks can occupy the mind of an immortal? This, in many ways, is why it's so easy for me to imagine us building all those megastructures we discuss and colonizing the galaxy. This is also why I suggest thinking of yourself in these conditions, not other people. It's easier for us to assume other folks will turn selfish or lazy than ourselves, and that outcome is possible, but I think it is far more likely the citizens of such a civilization would be rather impressive in terms of things like knowledge and experience and motivation. And it could be us too. Anytime in the next few decades, some laboratory somewhere might announce they managed to make a tiny little robot that was able to follow very simple orders, one of which included making a copy of itself from materials on hand. A few years after that, it's over, because that's a universal assembler, and if you have those, you are instantly post-scarcity and instantly biologically immortal. Such a technology is not guaranteed. See the Drexler-Smalley debate for the potential hurdles and how they might be insurmountable, but that's not the only path to either of those, just one that definitely does both. Given something like that, we, you and I, might be sitting down a few centuries from now chuckling about this topic. I can't see myself or most of my friends going to seed. While I can see a lot of them saying they would, since many are older than me, those who either talk of retiring or have done so are back doing stuff a couple months later. They are not doing it full-time. They travel, spend time with the grandkids, putter about with their hobbies, etc. Many get up an hour later and sit about in their pajamas, but many also do not, waking up and getting at it just as early as before, and the ones who do just go about it at their own pace. They are certainly no drain on society, either ethically or in terms of resources, and the latter is fairly irrelevant in a post-scarcity setup. Of course, most of those folks also have some sort of cause, usually several, that keep them motivated. And we certainly have no end of good causes for folks to jump on board these days. We have a lot of work to do before we have a society where people's only concern is finding something to do with life. When those go away, we do have a problem. Now mind you, not every purpose has to be grand and noble. Indeed, those doing them don't even have to believe they are grand and noble, but often feel that way even when it's probably not that important objectively. If someone's purpose is designing the very most fashionable clothing for dogs, and they feel that it's very vital to civilization, I'm not going to pretend I think it is, but I won't knock it either. Whatever keeps you going is a phrase I use with a lot of my friends these days, and I don't think most catch what I mean by that, which is that I don't really care what they do so long as it keeps them happy and isn't destructive to them or others. But it's a sentiment I suspect will get a bit more common as time goes on and technology progresses. In the grand view, and in the long term, they probably don't matter too much, but then again, I'm not so sure anything else does either. I usually find the best way to deal with existential dread about the purpose of one's existence or the meaning of life is just to pick something that feels right and roll with it, and cheerfully ignore such contemplations. I suspect that is also a sentiment that will get more popular in time.